Good morning, students. For the virtual classroom, we are studying with the fourth chapter. We saw it as in our first lecture, certain things related to the covalent bonds, and it's only one of the property of the how the bond formation completes their octet. Right? Other characteristics. Already in my first lecture, I told you that these are the randomly going it in these chapters. Right? Certain factors will come first, then we'll have studied the another one, then we'll come back to the another one. So like that, covalent we studied one. We are having it as an another factors to study for it, which are considered to be as a formal charge. But before I explain you related to the formal charges, let's first of all study certain parameters and ionic bond. First of all, we studied one covalent bond, a part of it. Now we will go for ionic bond. First of all, another factor for today's lecture, we will first study ionic bond because it's a very small, but it's going to be very important because once you understand the ionic bond, what we are having it, you would be able to understand the formal charges very easily. Okay, so to understand the formal charges, it is necessary that the first of all we will go through ionic bond. So today, what is ionic bond? No, till now you have studied in the lower standard. Ionic bond means when the oppositely charged ions attracts each other and forms a bond between them, you termed them as an ionic bond, right? As per it was a limitation of those teachers. They taught you accordingly. It was NaCl was an example which was always taught to you. It was told that Na plus Cl minus. See how this is going to obey the octet rule and why they are forming an ionic bonds. Why they don't form it as an covalent bonds. What is the difference between it? Right? No doubt that as per the lower standard, the definition, oppositely charged ions having a force of attraction created between them is considered to be as an ionic bond. But why these oppositely charged? Were they all containing already the donated electron? Then donated to whom? Gained electron, gained from where? So actually they are having it as an within the compounds when they are brought closer to one another. They are not initially positively or negatively charged. Right? So for ionic bond, it is told that first of all let's understand how this octet is there, and then we will understand that why they produced ionic bond Na plus or Cl minus. Right? Now sodium, it's having 11, neon 3s1. Now if it wants to complete its octet, it needs 7, or you can say that if it donates electron, it will get an inert gas configuration. By donating this electron, it can get an inert gas configuration. So either 7 electrons has to be gained or 1 has to be donated. Right? Now why it can't share? It's having only 1 electron in its outermost orbit. When the covalent bond formation takes place, the sharing of electron has to be done from the outermost orbit. Now this has an outermost orbit only 3s. It has only 1 electron in its outermost orbit. Even though if it wants to complete its octet, it can't share 7 electrons. How can it? As a result, what happens? These compounds do not go for sharing. Okay. Now why it goes for ionization? It has a big size, atomic size. You studied top to bottom, ionization energy increases. It is having only 1 electron in its outermost orbit. It can remove that electron from the outermost orbit. It needs a very small amount of the energy. That means you can say that sodium has low ionization energy. To remove this electron, we need it as a very less amount of the energy. As a result, by donating it, it gets converted into Na plus and it separates the electron. The energy required is very less. So it goes for ionization. Opposite to it, the chlorine is there, Cl 17. It's having it as 7 electrons in its outermost orbit. Either it has to donate all the 7, or by gaining simply 1 electron, it can complete its octet also. So what does it happens? Its size is quite enough that it's having it as an highest ionization electron gain enthalpy. Right? We know it that chlorine, it's an highest electron gain enthalpy of the periodic table. Maximum energy is liberated, minimum energy is absorbed. So overall, when this NaCl formation is going to take place, it's having it as a very low energy, stability increases, and as a result this compound goes for ionic bond formation. Okay, as a result, now onwards, what will be your definition for the ionic bond? A bond formed between those atoms which have the bond formed between the atoms, between those atoms which are having it as a low ionization energy and a high electron gain enthalpy respectively. Then they are known as ionic electrostatic bonds. Which is also termed as ionic, forming positive and negative charge. Now you saw it that these atoms, they donate or gain electrons. Once they donate the electrons, or one time the another atom gains that electron. At a time when this happens and the positive and negative charge ions are produced, they form it as an ionic bond. As a result, they are acquiring it as an plus charge or minus charge on them. Now this was an example of NaCl that we saw it. We know it that Mg is also having it as an low ionization enthalpy. Chlorine is a one and the same. So if they two get bonded with one another, what will happen? MgCl2 formation takes place. It also produces ionic bond. But again, already the condition that has to be remembered: low ionization energy, high electron gain enthalpy. Right? So if that difference between them is at a certain level, then only they can go for ionic bond formations. Right? Okay. So that means they are having it as a plus or minus charge on them. This plus or minus charge, we also consider it as an oxidation number. By donating or gaining of electron, they acquire a plus or minus charge on them. We consider them as oxidation number. But same factor also happens in the covalent compounds. But we don't consider them as their oxidation numbers. We consider them as their formal charge. Right? It's only for the formality. They are not actually having the charge. Actually, they are sharing of electrons. Right? But because of understanding it, that what has happened, which atom has gained shared electron, which has donated a pair of electron to form an coordinate covalent bond, we have a formal charges. Right? Wherever coordinate covalent bond formation takes place, over there we get it as formal charge. Okay, now the question arises for you: what is coordinate covalent bond? a third type of bond. This is also necessary to understand it. Then only we will be able to understand the formal charges. Now, coordinate covalent bond means what? See, I am taking it as an example of NS3. NS3 means what? We are having it as in 5 electrons for the nitrogen. 3 are there as an valence electron. They are shared with hydrogen. So nitrogen completed its octet. Right? Each hydrogen also got its stability, inert gas electron. But at the same time, in it, one H plus ion. That means it do not have electron at all. It is having only one proton present in it. Its electron is already donated. And it's coming closer to ammonia. That time what happens? Ammonia gets bonded with it by donating its electron pair, forming this compound as NH4 plus. Right? At that time what happened? One atom donated a pair of electron, another one simply gained that electron. Right? It did not, but this is not as an ionic formation. It's not ions. It's again sharing is there. That electron is not completely donated to hydrogen, or hydrogen has not completely taken away the pair of electron. It's a shared between nitrogen and hydrogen. So that's why such bond is considered to be as a coordinate covalent bond. In our last lecture we saw for the dot structure of H2SO4 that sulfur was also doing the same thing with the oxygens. It was simply donating the electron pair, was not taking it from the oxygen. We saw the dot structure for it. We saw it that there were such 2 oxygen atoms which did it like it. And 2 of them shared their electrons. So 1, 2, they are considered to be as a coordinate covalent bonds. Even in our that example also, in the lecture we saw it for HNO3, one oxygen was double bonded, one was having it as coordinate covalent. Right? So those atoms which donate a pair of electron and the other atom simply gains it, that means between them the sharing is done, then such kind of a bond that is formed between them is known as coordinate covalent bond. When this type of bond formation takes place, we get it a certain charge on them, right? And we consider them as formal charge. So how to calculate the formal charge for every covalently bonded compound? For I'm talking about sum, means for each and every atom, total atoms what are present in the given compound. All the atoms, if we calculate their total charges, sum up, you will get the answer always 0. Right? Okay. But how to calculate the formal charge? Formal charge. That is equals to, you have to calculate first of all valence electron of an atom. From it you will have to subtract number of lone pair electrons. From it we will subtract number of lone pair electrons minus 1 by 2 number of bonded pair electrons. The formula we are having it for the formal charge: valence electron, number of lone pair electrons, half non-bonded electron pairs. So this, if I want to calculate it, what is the required thing? I should know the dot structure. If the dot structure or the bonding is not clear, it's difficult for us to calculate it, right? So let's take it as an example of one O3 molecule. Let's calculate the O3 molecule. Now this is particularly given in your textbook, that's why I am taking it as an O3. But one more example I will take it for you so that you can understand it other than the textbook. Right? First of all, what is given in our textbook? Ozone. We know it that it's having 6 electrons in its outermost orbit. Out of it, one is sharing it so that it completes its octet. See, both these oxygen has completed the octet. But still I am having one more oxygen left out. What is that oxygen is going to do it is, it's not going to share with it. It's simply going to take away the electron for the sharing. So one atom is going to donate one electron pair, another one is going to gain that electron pair, and they are going to share that electron pair between one another. Right? So we got it as 3 different characteristics seen in the oxygen. Let's check, are these all the 3 of them are same? If they are same, the charge should be same, but we'll find out that all the 3 of them are different. How? We'll name it. This one has 1, atom number 1, this has 2, this has third oxygen. Let's take it for first oxygen. What will you have it? Formal charge, that is equals to valence electron minus lone pair electron minus 1 by 2 bonded pair electron. This was the formula that we are having it. Let's check. What are the valence electron for the oxygen? 6. Now how many lone pairs are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. So we are having 4 lone pairs. Minus 1 by 2. How many bonded electrons are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 bonded electrons. Right? Of these oxygen atom, 1, 2, 3, 4 are bonded. 1, 2, 3, 4 are lone pair. Total of these oxygen valence electrons are 6. So if we calculate it, what will get it? 6 minus 4 minus 2, that is equals to 0. So that means the formal charge of this oxygen is 0. Now similarly for second oxygen, we will have a formal charge, that is again valence electrons are 6, lone pair 2, bonded 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So that means we will be having 6 minus 2 minus 3, that is equals to 1 plus 1. So that means for this second oxygen your formal charge is plus 1. See, your first oxygen was 0, second one is plus 1. Let's think it for or calculate it for third oxygen. What you will get it? Formal charge, oxygen is there, so valence electrons are 6, lone pair 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 lone pairs are there, bonded 2. So you will get it as minus 1. So that means this oxygen is 0, this is plus 1, this is minus 1. If I calculate it, total formal charge is 0. Right? So we got it as all the 3 different oxygens are having 3 different formal charges. Let's do it another one for one more example. let's take it as another dot structure that we have already done, H2SO4. Now when you are having it as an H2SO4, oxygen is the dot structure. Already we did it in our last lecture, so I am not explaining, or you already know it how to draw the dot structure, right? Now one by one we are having it as in 4 oxygen atoms. Now you can say that this and this oxygen atoms are same, 1 and 2 are same, 3 and 4 are same. So let's calculate formal charge for oxygen 1 and 2, because they are identical in characteristic. So what we are going to get it, 6 valence electron, 6 bonded electron, minus 1 by 2, 2 paired electrons. So you are going to get it as a charge minus 1, right? Similarly, formal charge for oxygen 3 and 4, you are having it as an 6 valence electron, lone pair 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 are bonded, so total 0. That means these 4 oxygens, 2 of them are identical, another 2 are identical. But what about the central atom? Calculate for the sulfur. Sulfur is having 6 valence electrons. It's having it as an no lone pairs. Bonded 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So your answer is going to become +2. Right? Let's calculate for hydrogen. What you are going to get it? It has valence electron 1, no lone pair, bonded 2, so total charge 0. So see, for hydrogen you get charge 0. For third and fourth oxygen you get charge 0. For first and second oxygen you got the -1. Whereas for the sulfur you got it as +2. So overall if you calculate it, the charge is 0. So that is the formal charge that we are getting for the compounds. Or you can calculate it similarly, the formal charge for any given compound. Okay, the formula is most important. Valence electron minus number of lone pair of electrons minus 1 by 2 bonded pair of electrons. That will give you the formal charge. Okay, that's the formula for the formal charge. You may be in an exam asked calculate the formal charge for any given compounds. Okay, now after that we are having it as another factor. This was your second factor of the covalent bonds, which is present in all the covalently bonded compounds. The third factor, that is certain parameters or certain definitions that we want to understand it, right? In this chapter we have already done it, ionic, covalent and coordinate covalent, but as the time permits me, we will do it some definitions, simple definitions, like what is bond length? What is bond length? The distance between the two atoms, where the force of attraction is. This is known as bond length. The distance between the two atoms, where the force of attraction is maximum, they are considered to be as a bond length. Okay. The second one is bond angle. When two atoms are bonded with one another, your bond angle, we don't have it 180, it's a fixed because it's a linear, right? But when you are having it as a more than 2, there is a possibility that those may be having 180 or maybe less than 180 or like that, right? So that means bond angle means what? The angle formed between the two covalently bonded atoms. The bond formed between the two covalently bonded atoms the two covalent bonds, they are considered to be as a bond angle, right? Third one is bond enthalpy. What is bond enthalpy? Amount of the energy required to break the bond, or amount of the energy required to take the atoms to an infinite distance, or to minimize that force of attraction between them. Then that amount of the energy which is required, we considered it as bond energies, right? Then bond order, that is number of bonds that are formed between two atoms. Like you saw it as when we took it as an O2 oxygen molecule, there were the two electrons that were shared between them, so its bond order is 2. When we saw it for the nitrogen, we saw that 3 electrons were shared, so bond order is 3. But when we saw it for the CH4, you know that each carbon is capable of producing only one bond with hydrogen, so that is single bonded. So that is number of bonds that are formed between the two atoms by sharing of electrons are considered to be as bond orders, right? No doubt all these definitions are given in your textbook. You can revise them, you can find out, read your textbook completely and do it, right? So that's what the bond order is, or certain definitions that we came across. So today we did it about formal charges for the covalent bonded compounds. We saw certain definitions for the bond order, bond length, bond angle of it, ionic bond and coordinate covalent bond. Revise them from your textbook, repeat it, whatever the notes are there, read them carefully, prepare their question answers completely, right? For today it's enough. We will do it on the next factor, that is resonance, and the other covalent compounds in next period. Thank you.